What's happening, my beautiful money moguls and financiers in training? Welcome back to another episode of the Do.Different.Better Show, where we talk wealth, wisdom, and money moves, making finance simple for everyday people. I'm your host, Elaine Rasmussen, CEO of Social Impact Now, founder of Connective Institute, and managing director of the Integrated Capital Fund. You may notice that I have a little bit of a different background today. I'm in Portland, Oregon at FinCon 25, a conference for finance content creators. It's my first time attending, and it has just been absolutely amazing. And my guest, we were just talking about, he is also a FinCon a veteran, and he'll talk a little bit more about that if we're lucky. But I will be posting clips from the event a little on my socials a little bit later. You'll be able to catch up on all those. But before I talk about today's episode, I just want to give a shout out to Plink, which is a new money management app. This is not sponsored, but I won a Target gift card at their booth, so I wanted to give them a shout out. I also want to give a shout out to Ally, who gave away some amazing swag bag that included like the best mobile ring light and lapel mic that I've ever come across, which was amazing. So thanks to both of these partners for supporting FinCon 2025. And now, on to today's episode. It is about having a financial epiphany. Now, we all know that feeling when that light bulb goes off in your mind and suddenly everything clicks. And maybe it could be about budgeting, maybe it's about investing, or maybe it's just really understanding how credit and what's happening to your credit and how it all works. But no matter what it is, the moment of realization can change your approach to your finances forever. And our guest today is Scott Yamamura, a founder of Financial Epiphany and author. He is on a mission to help people have their own financial epiphanies and take control of their money. But a little bit more about Scott. He is a financial coach, author of Financial Epiphany, and has spent 25 years mastering the art of clear communication. As the head of video communications for Costco World Wholesale, he simplifies complex ideas for over 300,000 employees regularly worldwide. Now he brings that same clarity to personal finance and cutting through the noise to help everyday people invest with confidence in the ways that they've always wanted. Scott's concept of unleashing our multiplying power with money reframes investing. Through 3 breakout rules of thumb, he coaches you to feel empowered to take control of your finances by choosing a simple and creative path to financial wellness. So grab your pen and paper, your favorite tablet, whatever your note-taking device of choice is. This episode is going to be full of valuable insights from one of the top influencers in personal finance. Scott, welcome to the show, and thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, Elaine. It's so good to be here. Cool to hear about you being at FinCon, too.
Yeah. So I'm going to start with where I start with all my guests. What is your earliest memory of money?
I like to say that when I was growing up, my mom used to say talking about money was like talking about your underwear.
Oh, geez.
I love it. And what you meant by that is that it's a private topic. And certainly we shouldn't be out there boasting about our bank accounts. And that's what she meant. But the other flip side of that is that if we don't talk about money, then we could be silently suffering. And really, that's what a lot of us Americans are doing. We think it's a taboo subject. Parents don't necessarily feel equipped to share officially about money to their children. So maybe they don't at all. And so it was very quiet in my household hearing about money or any money tips. I certainly was able to observe things, and my parents were frugal. It was good to observe them. They weren't overspenders or anything like that, but it just wasn't talked about much. It was very briefly talked about. And so I had to figure out a lot on my own later in life when I finally said it's time. I've waited long enough. But yeah, very early on, it just wasn't talked about much. So that's my mom and dad. They did have a big influence on me, and that the best memory is how my mom said, it's like talking about your underwear. And now I say, sorry, Mom. Now I talk about our undergarments all the time.
All the time. Well, and it's funny because what I found in my money story is money wasn't talked about directly to me, but the struggles where money were talked around me. And so you're getting these messages without knowing that you're getting these messages. So
that's right.
With that being said, how did the not talking about your underwear, shape your view of wealth growing up.
Right. So like you're mentioning, and I was getting at, is modeling, right? So you're watching the behavior, but you're just not getting coaching. You're not getting specifics. You're not getting a lot of information. Another message that I understood was, and a lot of people grow up with, is that investing is like gambling. The stock market is like gambling. And so that's another message that I needed to study for myself and decide for myself what I thought about that. And my views certainly changed from, oh, that's gambling, I know nothing about it, I'm intimidated by understanding the stock market, to studying finance later and learning, oh, this is the belief in the American economy. This is the belief in the very company that I work at. This is the belief in the companies that many of my friends and family and neighbors work at. We're all trying to do our best and create products and services that we wouldn't mind buying from each other. And so if we believe in that system, then investing, that myth of it's gambling kind of fades away. So, but those small messages, I had to research them for myself. Another simple message. All these simple messages came through my family, that giving was going to be part of what I do. So I was raised with that, and I'm glad that was a muscle they helped build in me early, to be generous and to find causes you want to support. Another one was when I started my job later in life. My father said, invest in your 401k. There's free money in that. But that was just about it. There's free money in that. And so I would act timidly. I knew it was good advice.
What's happening?
Yeah. I knew it was good advice. I know I was supposed to do it, but you act timidly when you don't fully understand things. So the free money was, of course, he was referring to company matching in your retirement account when you do a 401k. But yeah, these were very simple messages without a lot of explanation. So I had to rely on a lot of my own research once I decided I was going to get over this intimidating, scary, overwhelming barrier called money.
And do you remember maybe around the age where that happened for you? I know for me, it really wasn't even until my 30s.
Yeah, I would say middle age. Yeah. And I call it kind of, there's 2 days of reckoning. One is the day of reckoning that I hit, where I was like, I got to figure this out. I'm either going to figure out how to maintain a house or fix a car, or I'm going to get to know this money thing. I just sort of decided on personal finance to get over it, because you can only go so long. And for me, stay naive so long. It's time to jump in at some point. But what got me going was I needed to save for my son's college. That started to come to mind. I needed to really think about my own retirement. And I was thinking about my parents and my in-laws. They need help financially at some point. So at some point, money is going to be on your radar if you don't do it yourself earlier. The earlier, the better. But certainly for me, it was on my plate and unavoidable. So that's where I really needed to face it.
Oh, I love that. So you call yourself an imposter to the field of finance, which I absolutely adore, because I feel like there's so many of us who come to finance that I literally at FinCon I've met, I was a teacher. There's been so many teachers who transitioned into finance, which I find hilarious. But that's what makes your voice so needed. But what made you really start rethinking everything you've been taught about money? And I know you talked a little bit about that, but like now to be able to say, like, I'm going to sit down and like write a book.
Mm-hmm. Well, I love that word imposter. I actually think it's a great word to describe things, because I used to be scared of thinking of meeting with a financial advisor. I think a lot of people are. They might think it's like going to the dentist or something. I'm going to be scolded for what I've been doing with money. And so I felt the same way, very intimidated by thinking of sitting in the office of a financial advisor. So I call myself an imposter because I work in corporate America. So I do work for Costco Wholesale, head up the video communications department. And so I have a great job, a regular job, a corporate job. And so I'm speaking more from being one of you. So many people hold a job, they're not in the financial industry. But it came to that point where part of the wake-up call also was I realized the statistics, the numbers. When I started to realize that friends, family, coworkers that were living paycheck to paycheck, some might say up to about 78%, don't have enough savings set aside, that we're in debt. Most of us, about that same number, are in debt. If it's non-mortgage debt, that might be around $20,000. It's quite a bit. Add a mortgage on, it's way more. And that there's a low level of financial literacy. You look around and we have nice cars and electronics. We're going on great vacations. But when you realize what's under the hood, that actually we're living on the edge, that there's not much there, in a pandemic or a job loss or health issue can cause us to fall off the edge of that cliff, then you realize, wow, we need to hear this differently. It can't be we're working and overspending our money and we're not willing to learn it because we don't want to meet with a financial advisor. So I call myself an imposter because I learned it for myself. I did study to become a financial coach and write this book for 3 years called Financial Epiphany. In fact, the look of it is right here. And I wanted to make sure it looks very approachable and very friendly and not the black and white
big block letters.
Yeah. I wanted to make sure people could feel empowered and confident by this. I got over that hump and I wanted other people to as well, and have ownership over money and realize this is for you. You owe it to yourself to learn this. And it can be said simply and creatively. You don't always have to hire somebody to translate it for you.
Yeah. And I think concretely what you're talking about is, because you've talked about, people will earn $2 million in a lifetime, but that feeling of still feeling broke, like you just don't have anything, you can't get to that next level. And you may not even know what that next level is. You just know that you're in this place and you want to get out of it. You want to be in a different place. You maybe want to go on vacations. Maybe you want to be able to work, not necessarily every overnight. You want to be able to make some kind of shift, but you're just like, well, I can't because this money. And Tom and I talk about, we've been conditioned to work. And so when you have that mindset of you're conditioned to work, it's almost like that also feeds into the fear of investing, right? Because it's like, well, if I invest and I don't have to work as much, then what's my value? Like, what will I do then? And it's like, whatever you want. Isn't that great? Just do whatever you want, or at least have a little bit more control over your time, a little bit more control over be able to stay home with your kids if you need to, if you want to, right? But so your book talks about turning money into a mental miracle. What was your financial epiphany and how did it change how you teach others?
Right. So when I decided I was going to start pursuing understanding personal finance, took workshops, I started watching YouTube videos and reading a ton of financial books. And I started to write in the margins of these books. And I started to realize that finance wasn't as scary as I had initially thought, and as most people do. And so I started writing so much in the margins and taking notes and sending emails to myself of all these individual ideas, because I think creatively. I distill messages every day. That's my job, is to boil down 10 hours of footage in a video down to 5 minutes of just what the viewer needs to see and hear. That's what I'm doing all the time. And so I thought, what if I took this sort of distilling of messages and simplifying of messages? What if I took that to personal finance? That's the way I want to hear about it. And I was previously frightened by this. What if we made this so approachable and looked at, if financial literacy is low and most of us are in trouble with finances and don't have a lot in our bank accounts, what if it was stated that way? And I think of teaching finances like a pie. You're at FinCon and there's thousands of content creators there that think of their own unique way to share about finances. And I feel like we each have a piece of that pie and a slice, and someone can come up to that pie and say, that's the slice for me. That's the way I needed to hear about it. Let me scoop up and take of that slice, because that's said my way. That is said, that's not intimidating for me. That's very inviting for me to understand money that way. And going back to the whole $2 million thing, that's about what the average person might earn over a lifetime. But boy, we don't think about that. And if we were to suddenly have $2 million fall in our laptop, we would go learn this stuff right away. We would feel the weight of that and say, I need to understand this. This is very important. Let me go out and learn this. But because we earn that amount very gradually over 40 years, over a working lifetime, we may never go see an advisor. We may never pick up a book and read it. There's so many distractions in life, but we really should think about it. I like to state things differently. And if you say you earn $2 million in a life, why don't you go learn about money? Because that's a lot to steward and be responsible for. Then we might go out and do something about it.
I love that. And that was literally the inspiration for this show, right? I really wanted to make these approachable conversations. And to your point, some people take it in written form. Some people, I'm a visual learner. So it's like, let me make this in a visual way and be able to have sort of these living room conversations. Because I know for me, I will pay attention to something I overhear than to something that's actually said directly to me. And I'm like, ooh, that sounded interesting. Because I don't have that pressure of like, there's like this expectation that I have to act, but I can make that decision for myself. Well, this has been such an amazing start to our conversation. We're going to slide into our break. I am speaking to Scott Yamamura, who is the author of The Financial Epiphany. And we've been speaking about his personal journey into coming into his financial epiphany. Coming into segment 2, we're going to now start to get into like, what are some of the concepts that he outlines in the book, some techniques that are going to be valuable and useful to you. And so I hope you decide to come back for segment 2 and check us out. Don't forget to like and subscribe and check us out on AM 950 radio on Sundays at 12. I will see you after the break. Welcome back to the second segment of this episode of the Do.Different.Better Show. I'm your host, Elaine. And with me today, I have the amazing Scott Yamamura, who is the author of Financial Epiphany. And you can get his book. We're going to put it up here on the screen. You can get his book at his website. Scott, do you want to give the website really quick?
Yeah, financialepiphany.com. That's where to go.
There you go. So definitely pick it up. It's amazing. I've been highlighting. There's lots of highlights that I've been putting in the book. So I know it's going to help you out. It's going to help somebody out there. So definitely pick it up. But we're actually going to talk a little bit more about it to even give you more inspiration to go right out and pick it up. So Scott, let's break it down. What are the 3 financial epiphanies and how do they flip the script on traditional financial advice?
Yeah, the financial epiphanies are 3 rules of thumb. They're super simple. And I myself, in understanding personal finance, investing, to be particular, I needed something like rules of thumb in order to understand what was going on here. Complexity is it's difficult. It's how many of us think personal finance is or should be, and we accept that. However, there's a simple route to understanding investing, and so I developed. They kind of were epiphanies for me. I woke up, and as each one occurred to me over months and months of time, I realized that it was this set of 3 that really work together. And the first one leads to the second one, and the second one depends on the first one, and the third one is comes from the second one. They're all tied together. They all work together, and they teach us how to invest.
Love that.
Yeah.
So you talk about doubling years and the power of 16 and exponential potential. Can you explain each one of these in like plain language, like you would to maybe a high school friend? Yeah.
Well, the first thing when we talk about the foundation of all these is that we need to make money freeze. To many people, money is a constantly set of roving variables. And so to make money just stand still so we can figure it out, we need to figure out 3 things. And that is, what is the average age people start a career at? And we freeze it at age 22, could be 21, could be 23. But what if we lock it in at 22? And then what is the average duration of a career? That's 40 years for an American. And so it could be 39, could be 41. But what if we just froze it at 40? And finally, what is the average rate of return when we invest? Well, there's stocks and bonds and index funds and 401k plans and IRA retirement accounts. But what if we froze that also at a very friendly 7.2% rate of return? And when we state that number, that sort of common number, friendly number for, if we invest, we might get about that much on an annual basis, that leads to the easiest math. The 3 financial epiphanies are based off of that foundation. So the first one, doubling years, like you mentioned. So simply said, if our money is gaining on average a 7.2% rate of return, the easiest, simplest concept and result is happening. The money is doubling. So you put $1,000 in, invest it, and you just don't do anything else. You don't even add to that. And 10 years later, if it's gaining that rate of return, it doubles into $2,000. So you understand the input. $1,000 invested turns to $2,000. And that's simple. It's so simple. 10 years is simple, and doubling is simple. You put those two together in the same sort of rule of thumb, and now investing is super understandable. Oh, I should invest because the money can double. Well, I can either spend it now or I can have twice as much money later and still get what I was planning on, plus have leftovers. So that's doubling years. Mm-hmm. And then that leads on to the power of 16, which is, well, who works just 10 years? Who thinks about only 10 years? We work 40 years. So if money doubles every 10 years, 1,000 turns to 2,000 after 10 years. What if I waited 10 more years? 2,000 doubles to 4,000 without doing another thing. Mm-hmm. And what if I waited another 10 years? 4,000 doubles to 8,000 and waited another 10 years, 8,000 doubles to 16,000. And that's with just inserting 1,000 at the beginning, and now there's 16,000 at the end by the time we retire. That is incredible. Now we understand it, input and an output along our whole career life. Wow, every $1,000 I put in can double into 16,000. Now we're quantifying something that was previously misunderstood and a mystery to us. And I realized also sitting at my dining room table, okay, I get excited about money growing, but a lot of people don't. No. We are now-minded people, not later-minded. We want instant gratification. 40 years? You want me to wait 40 years? Not a lot of people
for $16,000.
Yeah. And so I thought to myself, what do I do about this? I need to look at this differently. And then I realized you flip it. And when you flip things, it says something entirely different. It doesn't talk about money multiplying anymore. It actually talks about you having a multiplying power. It talks about you having an ability, like an athletic ability. This ability that you need to steward and use now, that is the most potent, that is the most powerful now. Older generations will tell us, you need to save early. I should have done so. I wish I could go back and do this all over again. I would have saved more earlier. And we need to be listening to them because what they're talking about is compound interest. What they're talking about is what I like to say is this multiplying power that you have when you start your career. You're working and you have an earned income and you have the ability to invest. That is when we have what I call the power of 16. I'm slapping a number on it. I'm slapping an age on it. Most people start a career around age 22. And we have this multiplying power of 16 then, and we need to act because it is so powerful. Mm-hmm. And that leads into the last one, the last financial epiphany, which is exponential potential. And that's just a fun term for saying that if we start with the power of 16 when we start working and we add our numbers back in that we used earlier, every 10 years, remember that duration we used earlier, our multiplying power is halving. Meaning it's being cut in half. So if it starts at the power of 16, the ability to multiply money by 16 times when we're at age 22 starting a career, 10 years later, it's the multiplying power of 8. It just halved in 10 years. And then in our early 40s, it halves to the power of 4, the multiplying power of 4. And then in our early 50s, it halves to the multiplying power of 2. And then by the time we're retired, most people retire around their 60s. Then hopefully you're enjoying the fruits of your labor and retired and enjoying yourself. But when we realize there's this diminishing ability that we have to multiply money, that it's halving every 10 years, that calls upon a psychological phenomenon called loss aversion. We are more likely to act because we're losing something
right.
than if we're gaining the same amount. And so it uses this mental trick to get us to do something, to get off the couch and invest, because we're thinking, oh, this isn't about gaining money. This is about me losing this ability. And like an athlete, NFL football players and gymnasts and this and that, many of us that were in athletics are in our primes in our early 20s, and we know that it diminishes over time. Well, that's how money works. The myth of, oh, I'll wait till later, I'll wait till I'm promoted and make more money and are older, wiser, savvier. Don't do that. That's a myth. It's actually backwards. You're at your prime with investing. If you're the average investor, when you are young, when you first start working, that's your most powerful, potent time. And I came up with these 3 rules of thumb so that you could understand it, and you could take action and have that sense of urgency that really is there.
Right. And I think either sometimes people delude themselves into thinking that they're going to be able to work. Like, you just don't have an ability to work at the same pace and scale that you used to work. So you also have that. And then once you lay on like ageism, or lay on some of these other things that happen that make it more difficult for your earning potential, it just continues to go down. And I think sometimes people either, one, don't think about it, or 2, they delude themselves into thinking like, oh, I'm going to work to such and such and such and such. And it's like, yeah, but will somebody employ you? Like, that's a very different conversation, and it has nothing to do with your abilities. You might be great at what you do, but we do, particularly here in America, have this ageism that happens in the workplace that devalues the wealth of experience and knowledge of somebody coming into an organization that might be a little bit on the older side. So you've created a simple money moves guide. Like, why do you think people struggle? Actually, no, I'm going to ask you this other question. A lot of folks in our community feel like it's too late to get started. Just going back on what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone in their 40s or their 50s who's only now waking up to their newfound financial life?
Yeah, that's a great question. And what I like to say is that we live in a country of opportunity and prosperity, where money can double. You simply put it on the boat, shove the boat off. It comes back 10 years later, doubled. And not every place in the world does that. And Warren Buffett would say, if you're born or you live in America, you just won the ovarian lottery. You've been born into these opportunities that are just there for the everyday person. That is incredible. And so even if we're starting late, doubling money is still the most amazing opportunity that we didn't create, but we get to choose to join in on. It's just there waiting for us. And so I like to say, it's common advice, do what you can, get started now. And so because even getting started late is an incredible opportunity. And so I like to talk about how I've gone overseas, and, I do shoot video for Costco Wholesale Corporation, but I also do so for nonprofit organizations on the side. And as I go to these places, my family and I just went to Sierra Leone, West Africa recently, where there's a high level of poverty. Money isn't doubling there, but certainly if it's doubling in the US, we can feed some of our resources over there. But when we open our eyes to what it's like elsewhere, there's a lot of places of the world where it's not like here. And so don't ever feel like it's too late. Don't ever feel like the system's working against you, because the system is a wonderful system that can benefit you. And money doubling is no small thing. And money quadrupling is absolutely no small thing. Just to give an example, if someone was to work a week of work and get paid for that week, that's what they signed up for. But if their boss suddenly said, you know what, I like you, I'm going to go ahead and pay you double time for that whole week, you would be ecstatic. Oh, work 1 week and get paid for 2? That is amazing. We would just be off the charts amazing. And that is what money doubling is like. But just for some comparison, what's the power of 16 like? Well, that's like working a week of work and getting paid for 4 months, and then working another week of work and getting paid for 4 months. That is so ridiculous and off the charts. The miracle of compound interest is sometimes said that it's the 8th wonder of the world. It's so incredible. And that just doesn't do it any justice. We say that and we say, oh, okay, it's compound interest. That's great. But when you think you work a week of work and get paid 4 months, and then you get to work another week and get paid 4 months, that's something you would absolutely do if that were true. And that is the truth behind multiplying your money. You invest, it can multiply to just unfathomable amounts. And we want to try to help people understand that.
Yeah. And I think it's important to just name, particularly in this country, it is sometimes harder for some folks than others just because of circumstances, right? So, but I think your point is it's starting somewhere. And I often talk about my own story of just starting with $5. I literally started, I was working $12 an hour. And I was like, I've got to start somewhere. So I just started with every week, saving $5 an hour. I mean, $5 a week. And that was multiplying in a way that I never even thought was possible, even with just, interest rates weren't great, but just the fact that I was putting that money away. And when I realized when like my son had something come up and I had to pay for it, the fact that I didn't have to check my bank account. I knew the money was there. I knew that I could take care of this thing. And that was an epiphanal moment for me. I was just like, oh, this is what I define as wealth. Wealth is that you have what you need to take care of what you need. And then anything after that's being wealthy. Like, right? There's having wealth and then there's being wealthy. And that is the distinguishing difference between those things. I'm like, oh, I can take care of what I need to take care of. It's not going to break the bank. I don't have to decide between eating and medication and taking care of this thing. I don't have to choose between like getting my car fixed or paying my rent. Right now I'm like, oh, I have accumulated some kind of wealth that I can take care of myself. Now, to your point, now it's a matter of multiplying that. What are the ways and opportunities that I want to make that happen? So, this has been an amazing conversation. We're going to go ahead and head into this break. I'm talking with Scott Yamamura, who is the author of Financial Epiphany. And in our third segment, we're going to come back and we're now going to give you some really tactical and practical tips on what you can do to motivate, power your financial epiphany, and take action to do different, better. I will see you after the break. Welcome back to my Financiers in Training. You are listening to the Do.Different.Better Show. I'm your host, Elaine Rasmussen, and we have the amazing Scott Yamamura, who is the author of Financial Epiphany. And we have just been doing an amazing talk. We started in segment 1 talking about his personal story, followed that up in segment 2 with really talking about some of the content of the book. And now we're going to get into some concrete strategies that you're going to be able to walk away with today and be able to act on creating your financial epiphany and then acting on it. So, Scott, you've said we overspend and undersave, but not because we're irresponsible. What's really keeping people from taking action with their money?
Right. Well, we talked about how not a lot of parents and also just the education system, we're not getting financially educated by default. And a lot of parents themselves don't feel equipped to do so. And so where are we getting our main money messages from? Well, one of them is going to be advertising and marketing. We're the most advertised to nation in the planet. Congratulations for that. $400 billion a year, which is about $1,000 per person, even the babies. And so if that's where we're getting our main money message from, and if we're on social media and we're watching each other's social media lives, then we are spending by default. And that's just the default because that's the main message with money we're getting. Spend, spend, spend. And so we're going to do that unless anybody else teaches us otherwise. That's going to be the norm, right? So if that's our default, I sometimes actually call that the path of snares and traps because your money it's your responsibility to own and to learn how to operate with. And but there are many folks that are willing to take that from you if you're willing to give that to them. So the whole world is inviting us to give our money to them if we allow that. So we really owe it to ourselves to to see that is our default system. If we didn't learn about money ourselves, then we do owe it to ourselves and our families to get on board with this. We don't want to stop learning after high school or after college just because it's optional to learn about money. We absolutely should because we make 1.5 transactions per day on average for the rest of our lives. We're not necessarily going to be continuing with some of the subjects we learned with in school, if it's calculus or, or physics or chemistry, and you're not in that line of work, but you certainly will be making transactions. And so keep the learning going. You definitely owe it to yourselves and to your family and next generations and legacy.
Yeah, it's so important. And I think sometimes people can just get a little overwhelmed and not knowing where to start. And what is so nice and we started the show talking about FinCon, and this is a whole conference for finance creators, and you can find your slice, like whatever your learning style is. Neurodivergent, if you're a creative, if you're in a certain region of the country, and there's so much accessibility to information. It's almost like you have no excuse. I mean, for me, I found this little Susie Orman book, and I redlined it, and there was no internet. There was no way to you're like whatever was available to you in the library or in the bookstore. And so that's how we get started. But even if that's the case, the fact that we get started is the most important thing. So then what's one mindset shift and one money move that you recommend to someone who wants to just stop floating and they really want to start building a plan?
Yeah, absolutely. We need a starting point. So a mindset shift is that I like to talk about is, okay, if there's these 3 financial epiphanies, they all lead to understanding what is my multiplying power with money. And so let's say someone is middle age and they realize, I have the multiplying power of 4. Let's say they're 42. Okay, well, that's the first step. I have the multiplying power of 4. Okay, so every $1,000 I invest now should multiply into $4,000 by the time I retire. And I should keep doing that over and over and over again. Okay, let me first understand the multiplying power. That will give me the confidence to take action. Now I know the input and the output when I do something with money. That's the start, understanding multiplying power. And then the second thing is I want you to think about yourself as an athlete. And just like a coach to an athlete says, you've got this potential, don't squander it. Okay, you've got bad grades. Okay, and you can't play football right now because of your grades. The school's not going to let you. So let's get our grades up, meaning let's get out of debt, let's get financially healthy, let's learn this stuff so that you can get out on the field because you have this ability and you can be the highest scorer on your team and you can, have these amazing opportunities and have a successful year for your team. But you're not playing right now. We need to get you in the game. And you need to use this ability and steward this thing because it is diminishing every 10 years. So you see, when we describe things in this way and we say you're like an athlete, take action, your multiplying power does change over time. It does diminish. Then it gets people off the couch and starting to invest. And if you have a 401k plan at work, that's a great place to start. If not, start an individual retirement account at a discount brokerage firm like Charles Schwab, Fidelity, or Vanguard. So I start with retirement accounts. That's where I tell people to get things going. It's beautiful to see that money grow over time. It's a long-term thing. If you are working and investing long enough to see it double and then double again it's incredible. And then you say, this is mine. And this is the seed that I planted. And it's so gratifying. You get excited and build confidence to do even more with money. But it takes time. It's a turtles race. But once again, I like to flip it because turtles aren't that exciting. I like to say it's like you're an athlete and you start with this amazing multiplying power that diminishes over time.
I love turtles.
I have nothing against turtles. No, and we have a lot to learn from turtles. They win races, apparently.
They do win races, slow and steady. But that is so important. Yeah. And going back to your point of we're such a now culture. We can't wait. We can't even, and we can't sacrifice. Like sacrifice is a full word of, I see this a lot when I work with entrepreneurs of, I'll tell them, and like you, I'm kind of like a little blunt with them. And I said, listen, you can keep getting your nails done. Or what would that look like over the course of 6 months? If you took that money, let's do that math. What would that money do if we actually invested it and either into your business or into some kind of account, whether it's an investment account, a 401k. I'm like, so how badly do you, and like, can you even reduce? Like, do you need to get the long nails or can you get the short ones? You know, I understand. Listen, you want to look cute. I get it. I'm all here for it. But, you know, or do we need to have that new game that's coming out or that new, you know, game system, right? What could I do if I spend $1,000 on that gaming system? Could I put $1,000 in my business and that would actually make me the money to go be able to buy the gaming system, right? But just really slowing down your thinking and that adrenaline of like, or that dopamine hit, right? Of like, that's gonna feel good. You know, we make fun of like retail therapy, and I feel like people like make fun of like Costco, right? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get my little dopamine hit one night.
Guilty of working for a company that gets people to just buy the stuff because we just have amazing products. But you know, a point comes to mind, like what you're saying there. I like to say instant gratification lasts a day, but financial wellness is gratifying every day. Meaning you buy stuff, you got to buy something the next day to feel good, and the next day and the next day. But when you build up, say, your retirement account or investments and you're doing good there, it's there every day. You don't need to buy anything new because it's growing every day and it's gratifying every day. So you can switch from buying every day to investing, which is slow, but when it's growing every day, that in itself is gratifying. And you no longer have to spend to get that feeling, to get that dopamine hit. Just open your account. Oh, that made me happy. Next day, open my account. Still happy.
Oh my God, that's a bar. That's amazing. I'm going to be sharing that and giving you credit that because it is. I know that was what it was for me. It made making the sacrifices so much easier because I'm like, oh no, I'm on a path to know that I'm going to be okay at some, not only today, but at some point in the future as well. And that feels good because I saw my parents suffer. I saw my grandmother. My grandmother was working as a geriatric nurse, you know, until literally she fell at work and through a set of circumstances died as a result of that fall. So, and she had no affairs. My great grandmother, her house got lost because there was no financial planning, like no paperwork, no estate planning. So that is such a crystallized. I'm a visual thinker as well. So it's like, that's such a crystallizing thing. And I'm like, oh yeah, that reflects exactly how I felt. I'm like, I feel that way every day. I'm like, I may not be where I want to be, but I know I'm on a path to get there. And it feels so good to know that I'm making the decisions. And again, it's not necessarily about suffering all the time, right? Listen, go to the movies, go take that trip, but also think about, okay, if I spent $3,000 on this trip, how will I make that back? Like, how will I put that back in? Not just take the trip and not think about the next. Not I'll figure it out later. No, we should be thinking about this. Opportunity costs is what you're getting at. What is the cost of spending this now, and what could it have been later? That's why I like talking about multiplying power. If I don't spend this now, well, it multiplies by 16. If I don't spend this now, it multiplies by 8. We need to understand that opportunity cost. Love that. So you wrote Financial Epiphany for middle income earners, professional workers, you know, but I know a lot of educators and coaches and nonprofit leaders listen to the show. What can they take away from your framework to better serve their communities?
Yeah, the reason why I like to teach about these 3 rules of thumb, these 3 financial epiphanies, is to educate the everyday person, because that's where the issue is, that many of us are failing at money because we just don't have a simple way of learning it. And so when it comes to just the broad spectrum of people out there that want to get good at money, I like to put it this way. So we want to learn our multiplying power can get us out of debt, because now our money has work to do and we understand what our money can do now, how it can multiply. So we get out of debt because we've learned to multiply our money so that, and this is the important part, we can fund our purpose. And so the last chapter of my book is called From Products and Prices to People and Purpose. And I love that because it's all P words, for one. Two is that really, do we want to be good with money so that we can have stuff? Once again, we talked about instant gratification kind of doesn't last long. But what about investing into people? What about investing into our community? We need to ask ourselves, why am I on this planet? And can I multiply money so that I have the resources to fund that purpose? Right. And so when people have that money, we no longer have to say, oh, I don't have any money. I can't donate to that. I can't help out with that. I just don't have any money. You know, the bank, the retailer, the credit card companies have my money. But if we have money to fund our purpose, all of a sudden we become the CEO of our own mission. And we can fund this mission, this personal mission that we're on. Many of us might be convinced by a mentor to create a personal mission statement. But now the money resources are there to fund it ourselves. There's no waiting. There's no barrier. It's there. It's us, our mission, and our account to access funds from. That's what I want to get people to, is to that point of having enough resources, having enough inventory with their money to be able to put it towards the reason you're on this planet. And so that's ultimately it's the ultimate goal with money, is get good at it, to get out of debt, learn to multiply and be empowered so that you can fund your purpose.
Love that. And this is my last question of the day. At the end of the day, what does it mean to do different, better with money? And what's one financial epiphany you hope every listener walks away with after listening to the show?
Great. Yeah. Once again, so this is where I like to restate things. So I don't have something new. I'm going to simply restate that money can be simple. You don't have to have analysis paralysis at all the options. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. You don't have to hire somebody to understand it all. You can get started yourself. And the 3 financial epiphanies are, number 1, that under common circumstances of investing, money can double every 10 years. Number 2, you have the power of 16. You can multiply money by 16 times on average under common circumstances when you start your career. And financial epiphany number 3, your multiplying power halves every 10 years following these common circumstances. Knowing these 3 things is a set of tools you can use for the rest of your life. I use them, even though I developed these over the last 10 years, I still use them today and plan to use them for the rest of my life on big money decisions. Still consider hiring a financial professional to walk alongside you, but this empowers you. So I want to empower you with the 3 rules of thumb so that you have a simple way of understanding your money.
Well, thank you so much, Scott, for being on the show. This has been an amazing conversation, a very just topical conversation, and just thank you for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me, Elaine.
You've been listening to Scott Yamamura, the author of Financial Epiphany. We've just gone through a roller coaster ride talking about his own personal money epiphany, talking about some of the content that's in the book, and then also just giving you some concrete steps on how you can get started with the 3 valuable principles of getting to your financial epiphany and then acting on it. So it's so great to have you. Thank you so much for listening to the show. You're listening to the Do.Different.Better Show. I'm your host, Elaine Rasmussen. Do not forget to like and hit the subscribe button. If you've got questions for Scott or for me, you can go to financialepiphany.com. You can find his book. You can find him and connect and contact him. But also you can watch the show on on YouTube at Do Different Better. You can also listen to us on the radio at AM 950 Radio in Minnesota and anywhere else that you can get your radio stations that you've listened to. But thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. And we will see you next time, where I am going to have Scott Collins. And Scott Collins is the author of Trust Your Trust Fund, and he is the founder of being the Trust Fund Coach. So with that, I am signing off. I will see you all next time, where we are going to do different better together.